Homeowners in the St. Pete market often face a confusing reality when shopping for a pool cage. 3 contractors, 3 wildly different quotes, and very little explanation for the price gap. This document illustrates why those bids vary so significantly. While many view these enclosures as lightweight accessories, Florida classifies them as structural engineering projects. As shown by the red stamp, Building Code Section 2002.4 legally mandates they withstand site-calculated hurricane forces. This diagnostic matrix reveals what a low-cost bid omits. The left budget build column lacks sealed engineering plans and relies on thin, unrated alloys. The code-compliant right column requires site-specific permits, minimum 0.040-inch thick aluminum, and engineering verified to survive 170-mile-per-hour gusts. Selecting the lowest bid often results in a frame that cannot handle local wind loads. During a moderate storm, these unverified structures frequently buckle, turning an initial saving into a significant financial liability. Coastal properties face extreme physical forces. Florida's building code requires structures to withstand 3-second gusts hitting 170 miles per hour from multiple directions. This blueprint shows how a code-compliant frame survives that impact. The red arrows map the load path, a calculated route that takes the energy hitting the screens and channels it safely into the ground. Look at text box 3. To maintain this path, the building code requires the primary aluminum extrusions to support a 300-pound point load per foot. This prevents the frame from snapping when debris or wind pressure hits the members. Following arrows 4 and 5, the energy travels down the vertical posts and disperses into site-specific, engineered concrete foundation anchors. Unpermitted budget builds use generic designs that fail to account for these forces. Without a calculated load path, the cage acts like a solid sail, creating enough leverage to uproot the concrete footer during a storm. This diagram illustrates an engineered fail-safe. In a Category 4 or 5 hurricane, the screen fabric is mathematically designed to tear before the frame reaches its breaking point. The result is a pressure release that keeps the aluminum skeleton standing. A compliant frame survives extreme weather because these invisible engineering choices prioritize the survival of the structural skeleton over the skin. While wind is the immediate threat, St. Pete properties also face a slower form of destruction, the constant presence of coastal salt air and 90% humidity. These conditions trigger galvanic corrosion. When a builder drives standard galvanized steel fasteners into aluminum framing, moisture creates a bridge between the two metals, sparking a chemical reaction that eats away at the structure. You can see this failure in the form of rust bleeding onto pool decks or the literal dissolving of the anchors that hold the frame to the foundation. This 3D diagram shows the engineering solution. To prevent corrosion, the builder must physically break the metal-to-metal contact within every joint. Focusing on the cutaway, you can see marine-grade 300 series stainless steel fasteners. These are encased in protective isolating sleeves and caps, so the steel never touches the aluminum frame. On the far right, you see how this isolation extends into the foundation. This protects the concrete anchors from rust expansion, which would otherwise shatter the footer over time. Upgrading to isolated marine-grade hardware increases the initial price, but it is the only way to prevent a coastal enclosure from structurally failing within 3 to 5 years. Once the frame is secure, selecting the mesh fabric becomes an engineering trade-off between airflow, pest control, and heat retention. This table, the mesh matrix, compares these options. Standard fiberglass in the top row provides high airflow. The no-seam mesh in the second row stops tiny insects, but notice that the airflow slider drops to 80%. The bottom row shows privacy and solar mesh. These block up to 99% of UV rays. But look at the heat retention slider. It spikes to 90%. Tighter meshes can protect your skin, but they often trap high levels of ambient heat. Motorized retractable screens provide a premium way to manage these trade-offs, allowing you to switch between different mesh densities as weather conditions change. This cross-section diagram highlights the risks of low-cost automation. Cheap DIY kits often suffer from rusted housings and motor burnouts because they aren't built for the Florida rain. The standard for true automation requires an IP44 or higher weather-rated exterior tubular motor, like a Somfy system, which is designed for maintenance-free outdoor performance. These systems also include integrated wind and sun sensors that automatically retract the screens to prevent damage during sudden coastal squalls. There is no free lunch in screen design. Every choice in mesh density and automation must be tailored to the specific environmental exposure of your yard. This chart maps the 10-year lifecycle cost of different builds. A budget build starts cheap, but maintenance costs curves sharply upwards due to rust mitigation and storm repairs. A code-compliant build has a higher entry price, but repairs remain nearly non-existent. The actual cost of a Florida screen enclosure is measured across a decade of severe weather, not just by the quote you receive on installation day. This table contrasts the budget approach with the Florida standard. To ensure longevity, certain elements are non-negotiable: structural extrusions, permitted engineering, and marine-grade hardware. For a primary residence or coastal investment property, moving beyond a simple bug net to an engineered fortress is a mandatory safety requirement. Rigorous engineering provides a triple benefit. It excludes insects, shields the home from airborne storm debris, and lowers cooling bills for adjacent rooms. Don't gamble with Florida's elements. Contact Screen Factory Florida to secure your home with transparent, fully code-compliant architectural engineering. Treating a screen cage as a structural element turns a vulnerable patio into a resilient, code-compliant outdoor living space.